we haven't had competition. Great. We're good.
Call this meeting to order. This is the Morgantown City Council Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, January 31st. We're in the Mon County Commission Chambers, 243 High Street. As a note, Committee of the Whole meetings of Morgantown City Council are intended to provide an opportunity for council to receive information, ask questions, and identify policy options in an informal setting, and no official action will be taken at this meeting. The following matters are scheduled. We have no presentations this evening, correct? So that will bring us to our public portion. Is there any member of the public wishing to address council this evening?
Good evening, Council. My name is James Giuliani. I live at 256 Prairie Avenue, National Landmark Alexander White House. Always very proud. Been going around the neighborhood, getting signatures and things. It's very exciting. A lot of people have great concerns, but people also have great hope that we can be better than we are now and move ourselves forward. Some of the things we talk about, and we have a lot of things going on in First Ward where I'm at, is that we have the ice rink with us. And so we have a lot of discussion about that. We have the South High Fire Station, first rescue, EMS response, meaning that our fire department and our first responders, 80% of our calls are non-related to fires. So they're actually not just firemen, they're much more than firemen. So that being said, to a person, every person that I've spoken to and discussed, whether they be in the First Ward or Second Ward because of the closeness, or even the Sixth Ward where I'm going and canvassing, is that nobody wants to lose their fire station, their first response station in our neighborhoods in South High. It's just not going to happen. We won't allow it to happen because guess what? The citizens are the people who are most important. They're the people that need to make the decisions in the sense of where our first response needs to be. Because in that location, we can respond to our downtown, to our neighborhoods, if it's moved somewhere else, and that's okay. At the city, and we can get it together, that we can build another fire station, and I think that's in our future too. But the fact of the matter is that the South High Fire Station serves a tremendous purpose. Even if it's regulated just to the ambulance service that I've talked about and first response service, and the bigger vehicles are taken to another site, it's still the first response. It will give us a full circle in what we're going to do as a city to manage and not duplicate the services of our EMS. So that being said, it's important that we have other things going on in it. We have the downtown that's included in it, the Wharf District. All these things are very important to our city. In fact, it's one part of the city that we actually have an opportunity to possibly annex in. We've driven our string out to Walmart, to Sheetz, et cetera, et cetera. We brought in Ruby's House of Hope. I would hope that we could show these folks that are not in the city at this point in time that maybe we have a lot to offer them. So we have to look at, and we have to go to those property owners. We have to go to those business owners, and we have to look at them. What is it that we can offer you as a city to want to come in and join us? Because we have a lot to offer. And we do have a lot to offer. And so what I'm suggesting to you is that we all need to be looking to working forward. Another major thing that everybody is very, very, very concerned with is West Virginia University and our downtown and our relationship within all that. Well, we're to the point now that West Virginia University is bleeding. We're bleeding. They're losing enrollment, retention's down. The geographics don't speak well for future enrollment at West Virginia University. Therefore, we have to be the best. We have to be the best. We have to be the best town gown. We have to be the best town gown that we could possibly be to form this relationship between West Virginia University, the county, and ourselves, working together. And we have a vehicle map that we're working with. But here's what we need to do as a city. We've got a great project ahead of us. And for 2 years, we've not heard about it. Richwood Avenue is going to bring so much positive economic development to this city, and it's going to bring a synergy that's going to work through the downtown and into what my brother LJ calls the Sohi district, into the Wharf district. And we're going to build something wonderful, and we're going to build gateways. Isn't that correct? That's what we're going to do. Let's do it.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Susan Riddle with the Visit Mountaineer Country Convention and Visitors Bureau. I have a few of my staff with me this evening. We are making our rounds to get out to everybody and kind of let everyone know what our 2022 wrap-up was, and before we issue our final annual report. What we're giving you are essentially two documents. One is our tentative annual report. It's tentative because it will include our audited numbers, which we're completing our audit actually by the end of next month. But 2022 is a really big year here in our greater Morgantown area. As you know, we participated in bidding for the Olympic trials, which unfortunately we did not get. However, it has allowed us to develop a longer-term relationship with USA Diving, and we're in the process of establishing the greater Morgantown area as a premier destination, a recognized premier destination for the elite diving community, nationally as well as internationally. Mayor Celine was one of our dignitaries that came and presented awards at the Winter Nationals, and the opportunity of actually not obtaining the Olympic bid has now allowed us to secure the Spring National event, which we found out actually yesterday. It'll be in May of 2023. That's a national qualifier. And then we are in the process right now of working to secure another event in 2024. And what we told the USA Diving community is we want either a national and/or international event every year until we bid on the Olympic trials again in 2028. So we're working on that, and I fully expect that we are going to be able to secure that. Needless to say, I'm sure I don't have to tell any of you what national and international attention and positive events that we've been able to orchestrate here in our community really does for the Morgantown brand, the greater Morgantown brand. It's tremendous. We can't buy that advertising. We might have a large budget, but we can't buy that advertising. So not only was that a big achievement in 2022, but also in 2022 is where the state reporting was implemented by the CVB oversight legislation. And I'm here to report, as I did before, that we are in compliance with that and have been for years. They didn't need to pass the legislation for us to be in compliance with that, but that's okay. It's kind of raised the bar a bit for the CVB organizations throughout the state, and we're glad to be a leader in that group. As far as our destination development through our management and marketing of all the things that we're involved with, the Mountaineer Trail Network, with the Goodwill City Ambassador Program. I mean, I can kind of go through a pretty long list. We are actively engaged with many initiatives that look for any and all opportunities to recruit things to our destination. And we couldn't have put our best foot forward any better than we did going through the Winter Nationals. I mean, it's pretty cool when you have somebody that's the president of a national organization like USA Diving that compliments on the things in our community, and they were not things that we prepped, planned, or planted. None of that. It was all organic. So we'll be working to advance the diversity and inclusion throughout our destination that the Morgantown City Council has already been a leader at for many years, through the Human Rights Commission. So we're here to be your representative and continue to connect the dots to sell the destination. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan.
Mm-hmm. Can we suspend the rules so I can make one comment?
Sure.
I really appreciated being able to participate when they had the diving competition. That was really, it was interesting. I hadn't been to that type of competition before. And so I asked a lot of questions as a Morgantown-centric person about what the CVB put out for information about what restaurants were available, for instance, for people who were coming in. And I found that they had given out a very nice list that was well-rounded, that included properties in the city, out of the city, that it was just featured in a really nice way. So I just appreciated what had come out, because I had one diver that said, well, they had been to X place, but they had really been looking for something else. And I was thinking, well, we have something else. And then I was thinking maybe it's in the materials that were presented to them, but that was not the case. The materials that were presented had a little bit of everything, and the items that I would like to see in there were in there, as well as items that other people would have liked to have seen in there were in there. So, so I just really appreciated the professionalism and how well the Diving Association members spoke about the facility and how they had been treated. That's thank you.
Can I share one quick thing? There was a post today after the announcement that was made, and it was by somebody that attended the event, so it went out through social media. And when they made the announcement that this gives me chill bumps. When they made the announcement that we're getting the Spring Nationals, someone commented, this is awesome, this was my favorite place to go for a diving competition. And we were like, whoop whoop! I mean, you can't buy that. That's exactly what we're going for. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address council?
Hi, I'm Marley Unigas, 1093 Saberton Avenue in the 5th Ward. And I wanted to share a little bit of information about the recent point in time count. It's a national census of folks who are unsheltered. And I think there was a really great turnout in the community, both among volunteers like myself and many folks here tonight, I'm sure. But also with the people who were, brave enough to put themselves out there and answer some really personal questions because it would help their community. These are questions about how did you become houseless, or how long have you been houseless in our community? I hope that the city and the county can use this information and build some more resources because there is a strong need. We've had more than 300% increase from our census last year to this year, and I wanted to make sure that that was known by everyone. I think a large part of that is not that there are more folks who are houseless this year than the previous. I think a lot of that has been stronger community outreach, grassroots outreach, the United Way, First Presbyterian, Morgantown Ramp, and other community partners have made sure that there were an extra 60 to 70 beds this winter than previously. So I just wanted to get that out there and, say thank you to everyone who participated. Your willingness to share not only helps the community, it helps bring federal funding to help these needs in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Jamie's just going to sit over there. All right, then we will close the public portion and move on to our items for discussion. Item A, an ordinance providing for the zoning reclassification of certain parcels of real estate in the 2nd Ward of the City of Morgantown from B1 Neighborhood Business District to B4 General Business District, amending Article 1331 of the Planning and Zoning Code of the City of Morgantown as shown on the exhibit hereto attached and declared to be a part of this ordinance as if the same were fully set forth herein. Manager?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just as an overview, before I turn it over to the real expert, I've been involved over the course of my career in the establishment of zoning, layers of zoning within municipalities, and it's always, the question is why. And what it does is gives a predictable predictability to anyone wanting to invest money within the community. They know what they're investing in, what it's going to look like. However, just like everything else, like a budget or a calendar or anything else, it's fluid because things change and the needs of the community change. And so from time to time and that's why we have different boards that consider different issues that come before the city related to zoning. Then those recommendations made to council. Tonight we have one of those situations where the development department has had to look at some requests for rezoning that would allow for a different land use for a particular parcel within the city, and so that's what this is all about. Is just a, this is not unusual. It's one of those things that happens from quite regularly, actually should, in that we continually evaluate how we've established districts and land uses within the city. So it's not too confining, but also gives some parameters that people can make economic and other kinds of decisions on. So I'd like to turn the time over to Ricky Yeager, our development director, maybe to give a little bit more detail regarding this specific request.
Good evening, City Manager Haas, Deputy Mayor Trumbull, members of council. On January 12th, the Municipal Planning Commission held a public hearing to consider a zoning map amendment to the city zoning ordinance, case number RZ22-03. After hearing all interested parties present at the hearing, the commission voted to forward a recommendation to council to approve the proposed zoning map amendment, which would change the 3 parcels north of Willie and east of North Spruce Street from B1 to a B4 designation. Included in your packet is a copy of the commission's staff report. And as City Manager Haas alluded to, after review, staff found the proposed change to be in keeping with the city's comprehensive plan update, more specifically the land management plan adopted in 2013. While the applicant is not present this evening, they do plan to attend the next regular meeting of council on February 7th, and which will be the first reading of the ordinance. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Director Yeager or the city manager?
Ricky, maybe just a quick overview of what the properties are now and maybe what intended use they would be in the future with this change?
Yeah, so the applicants are specifically requesting this zoning change because right now the uses that are there, which is a fraternity or dormitory use, are non-conforming. And so if they go vacant for more than a year period of time, that non-conforming use is no longer applicable. So we had a situation where there was a lapse in the use and they're applying for the rezoning designation to obtain that. But as Mr. Haas pointed out, the commission was asked and city council was asked to not only look at that consideration, but look at the long term, what could be developed there in the future, not just the specific use that the applicant is seeking. So when you're looking at that in the future, please take into consideration the uses that are permitted in the B1 district now and that are not permitted, as well as what would be permitted if the zone were changed to B4. Yes.
If the properties extend the B4 up from Spruce Street, but if we were to pass this?
Yes, by 3 parcels. Mm-hmm.
Was there consideration made to changing other areas adjacent to B4 as well?
The applicant had the applicant and I, we had discussions in the office. There were other options that they could have chosen, but this was probably the most reasonable because compared to the other adjoining districts like B2, which is much more expansive in terms of the uses that are permitted, B4 is a little bit more narrowly confined, but also allows for the intended use that the applicant is looking for on those 3 parcels. So rather than request a B2 zoning designation, for instance, the request came as a B4.
Well, and a B2 would essentially make it spot zoning because it's not up against a B2. It would currently border another B4 though.
Correct. If the applicant were to pursue that, they would have had to get other property owners involved. And I believe there were discussions had. But again, that B2 zoning nation's more similar to the type of development you would see along Earl Core Road as opposed to what the B4s was designed to do. So after those kind of conversations, that's what the applicant put forward.
Yeah, I think my question was more directed towards like, so, you know, the rest of this is surrounding it on certain sides are B1. Is there consideration to making other parts of other parcels that are adjoining it into B4 as
We've
well?
not been in touch with any property owners other than the ones that are coming forward now.
Do you feel like there's non-conforming use out of any of the other surrounding or adjacent?
I would have to go look at that, but
Okay.
in generally speaking, that the area between Willie and Prospect has always been considered in terms of the city's 2010 strategic plan for downtown has always been considered a part of the downtown area.
Mhm. So maybe worth looking into making that whole block into B4? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Director Yeager? Is there a general consensus about moving towards an agenda?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Tell us what, the planning commission just was unanimous for this?
It was not unanimous. There was one dissension from a gentleman who had some concerns about another property nearby. I believe it was the property next to the Panera property, a block over, that had asked in the past to be rezoned to a B4, and that had been denied. And
I
it was
remember
our
that.
understanding that that was more due to a historical preservation kind of issue than we don't want this usage here.
Or maybe both, but I can
I
understand.
was not on at that time.
That's historical, for sure. I don't remember if I was on there then or if I was on council then, but it definitely has been consideration about going up over that line.
Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, there were 6 planning commissioners present for this meeting, and it was a 5-1.
Good. Well,
That's
just
what
good
the
to know
note
that
showed, yeah.
moving forward into our meeting. Thank you.
If there's no other questions, we will move that to an agenda and move on to our second item for discussion. Item B, a proposed contract with Republic Services for solid waste services. Manager?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The city has been in discussions with, actually throughout their entire contract here the last 5 years. The city is, and Republic and their staff have worked very diligently trying to establish proper communications channels as well as relationships so that issues that arise, that will undoubtedly arise in this business, can be resolved as quickly as possible. And so through those discussions and assessments and fine tuning, we feel like the city, and in fact, I've made this statement before, 2 years ago when I first came on board, this was probably the hottest topic that existed. We heard it almost every council meeting. Since that time, those complaints have gone down now, whether that's a function of people not talking anymore or me, is just not coming to the surface as much, including through some of our contact staff. Carol certainly has been the point person in terms of taking any kind of complaints that come from the public, and she would attest that a lot of her works has become much easier because things seem to have resolved themselves, and that's to no small reason because of the efforts that the Republic staff have made. We certainly have and I wanted to introduce Tom Berry and Renee Shipley, who are here representing Republic. We've been in many conversations with these two representatives of Republic, and feel that we have arrived at a negotiation in terms of the next contract to be able to provide really good high-level services for our community at a reasonable rate. And so I would you've all had an opportunity to at least see the contract that is being proposed. And one of the reasons I invited Tom and Renee here was to answer any specific questions you might have in terms of service. Just publicly, I think it's important that we understand that nothing in terms of the level of service that the community has come to appreciate will change. There are a couple of things that will be added in this contract. One is that we have, as part of the negotiations, we are adding some wheeled trash receptacles that will make it easier for our residents to be able to maneuver. They're quite easy to do so. I have personal experience with that. But it also helps speed up and make Republic services more efficient, because it can be most of that can be automated. That certainly will not preclude the hand gathering of any access. There are obviously going to be times when the containers are not going to be large enough to accommodate all that's necessary, and so the Republic certainly is committed to continue helping gather bags that have been that are not that the containers don't accommodate. So that's kind of a general overview. We've been talking about this for a long time, and staff certainly feels that we need to make some decision on this contract so that we can go forward and implement some of the really reasonable, important changes that are in place, including a very robust and sensitive website that will allow complaints to be filtered and monitored closely by both the city and Republic. So unless, do you want to make any comments, Tom or Renee, just in general, or answer any questions that you have? Whatever you'd like, Deputy Mayor.
Go ahead and start.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for being here, and I wondered if you could just explain a little bit more about the QR code, the phone number that will be on the containers, and how that would be used, and what you hope to see as a result of that for customer service.
So sure, absolutely. So one of the reasons we want to do that
So
is
you
so
have to
that.
come all the way up and speak right here.
Oh, is that better? Okay.
For the TV, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm new to this, so bear with me.
And you'll be on TV, and people can hear if you speak into it.
Okay.
It doesn't help us necessarily, but it's so that people at home can hear you.
So one of the things we will do when we deploy the carts is there will be a sticker affixed to the cart. There will be a QR code you can scan with your phone, and if you don't have that capability, the website will be listed to where you can reach it manually, so that you can access things such as your schedule, you can access resources for education on the recycling. What can I put in my recycling cart? What can't I? If you have a question or a concern, you can log it into this website, and we will receive that information and be able to process it from there. So it's going to really give people a lot of access to information right at their fingertips that maybe they're not used to having before. And it's going to be a lot of good information as far as things for kids. You know, you can download resources for kids that they can do different word searches, games, you know, they can answer their own kind of just fun things for kids, but get them excited about recycling. So there's going to be a lot of good resources. And it's going to be a collaboration. It's not just what we want on the website. It's in process now, and as soon as I have a draft, I will be sending it to the city so Kim and Emily and Vanessa, Carol, Ryan can review it and maybe add to it. Maybe there's things we hadn't thought of. So we're really looking forward to moving forward and getting things in motion for the good of the city of Morgantown, and for us too. You know, we've been around for a long time. We want to stay. We want to serve Morgantown. We enjoy it. It's what we do. And so we're just looking for your feedback and ready to move forward. You have to forgive me. I've been sick for 2 weeks, so. What else can I answer for you, Jenny?
Yeah, did you have follow-ups?
I just, if we proceed with this, when would the new carts be in place with that information?
Very good question. So once we get a signed contract, we need that to order the carts. It is possibly up to 6 weeks until they are absolutely deployed. But they always give us the worst case scenario. Now, of course, being the time of year that it is, hopefully we don't get any major, snow blizzards in the months of February or March that might delay that some. But the hope is that we will get those carts deployed within that time frame. And yes, the stickers will be affixed and will be ready to go. And we'll also include some documentation on how to set the cart out, because you do want to put a certain side to the street, makes for much easier collection. So we'll include all of that when we deploy the carts.
And will you take back the current, like the recycle carts were issued through Republic? Will
You keep those.
We'll
We're
keep those,
still
and
going to
we'll
use
just
the
get a new-
recycle carts for
a new
recycling. Yes,
Gotcha, thanks.
yes. And the hope is that too, with the improved amounts of communication and education, the amounts of recycling combined with the monthly drop-offs will really ramp up that recycling participation, so that you'll really see the benefits of those carts, keeping your streets clean, keeping everything contained. No one likes to see loose trash that maybe can get broken into one way or another, and then it gets strewn about. This really helps to contain the litter. It really helps to make a nice uniform presence on trash day for that, wherever the trash day is for that part of the city. And it just makes a really big, nice impact. And you don't realize it until you get those carts. And I know people sometimes are resistant to change, but I think once they use the carts and they really start to understand, this is something I have a place to put my trash now for all week, instead of just outside or whatever it is that they might only have to do with it. It really does help improve the aesthetics of the city, and it just makes for a nicer place. And it ties into all of the other things that you have going on to make this a really attractive city, and we are excited to be a part of that.
So for people who get concerned about when for any reason there happens to be a missed pickup, so they use their QR code or they log on to the website, what will be different for them?
So they'll be able to log that complaint, and they'll know that it will be logged, and they'll know that we received it, and we will respond to it.
So will it usually be similar, that the advice is that you leave the cart out and that it will be picked up as soon as possible? Is that kind of the general?
Nothing of that process will change, yes. So, normal recovery times, the goal is to continue that and possibly even improve it. As the carts allow us, like Kim said, to be more efficient, hopefully we can recover missed pickups even faster.
And then for people that need a smaller cart because they're older, or not to cast aspersions on some very fit retirees we have around here, but maybe they generate a lot less trash, or they have a trouble getting a large cart to the corner. How does that process work?
So that is something that we will have an application form so that we can kind of document those things, and then we can make that swap.
Super nice that you're making that available. People will appreciate it, even though it'll be a little bit of a pain.
Well, we just need to all work together and make this to where it works for everybody.
Some of the recycling carts are already smaller, right? I have
Oh.
a big one, but some of them are.
Yeah, and
half
that's the
size.
same type of thing that you have to make a special request, and there has to be sort of some reasoning behind it.
Counselor Butcher, do you have questions?
I
You
have a
always have
few.
trash questions.
Yeah, do you want me to go?
Because he has a neighborhood that
The complaint about trash.
appreciates good service.
That's right, yeah, that's a good way to put it. So we'll, as far as, you're collecting on the website, service issues that people might report, would you be able to log those and provide us with,
Yes.
issue resolution?
We'll be able to
and-
give you that information.
Okay. I don't see that here in the contract in terms of like providing a report. There is audit for recycling. I would just appreciate like an annual or quarterly report as to maybe areas of service where we're having issues or something like that. This might be a question more for the attorney, but it shows in here that we would, our rate increases, one of the changes in here is that our annual rate adjustments would follow CPI. I'm a little confused at the wording, so is it following the total CPI or just this one index of water, sewer, and trash collection?
There is a particular index for water, sewer,
Yeah.
trash collection. It will, the rate increases will follow that index, although they would be capped at no greater than a 7% increase. And just quickly to your prior point, the current contract, I believe, requires quarterly aggregation and reporting of customer service issues by Republic to the city, although I will check on that and confirm, and if we do need to address that in any amendment, we can do that as well.
Okay, thank you. And the figures that we have in the exhibits are at 7% increase, correct?
I believe those are the maximum. rate
At maximum,
increase.
Correct.
what rate increase would look like?
And I
Okay.
can, I'm sorry,
Sure,
if I
go
could
ahead.
interrupt you, just to explain that historically, or in recent history, the water sewer trash index has been somewhere around 3%. So I can't say what it's going to do in the future, but that's where it's been historically, and that just helps to basically cover our costs and keep your costs in line with ours. So everything is on an even keel, and that's why, as an industry, it's not just Republic or just Morgantown. It's an industry standard now that we are moving toward to keep everything in line to help best serve our customers as well as business needs.
Yeah, I think tying it to CPI is a good idea. What if it were, this probably never happened in this crazy scenario, but what if there was negative inflation on the CPI? Would the rates then go down?
So we really have not seen that happen.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that in this day and age.
Oh, yeah, an economic crash at that point, but.
I mean, that would be nice, because I would like to go to the store and not have to pay $6 to $8
Yeah.
for a dozen of eggs, but I don't know that day will ever come again.
But fees,
Yeah, I think that's correct. There's not a floor set on it. If
Okay.
there were a negative change in that index, then there would be presumably a negative change in the rate.
okay.
You might think about that.
We will think about it, but I can say we've never seen it, so. Of course, now that we've said it.
We can always hope.
We'd probably be in more trouble than
Right.
what, yeah. I think that's all I had.
I had a question, I guess maybe just clarification. And those of you looking at our packet, on page 53, it says residential pricing is $20.35 per month. And then if you look at page 55, it has the 2023 price is $21.35 per month. I don't know which one's correct, or if that includes, this page 55 specifically says that it is, or somewhere here, I don't know, says that it is exclusive of any PSC fuel recovery fee. Do we know what the disparity between those two prices are?
So we're looking at page 53 of the packet, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so 53 up here, it
Yeah.
says 2035, and then
Yeah.
if you turn the page to the rate table, it says 2135, so.
Mayor, I believe that should say 2135, I think.
So you're saying page
A1
53 is a
for
typo?
residential pricing.
Yeah, I think 2135 is
has
our
a
current
typo
rate,
on it.
right?
Thank you.
2135 is the price that we had arrived at for starting March 1st for residential.
So we should just change that typo.
And I'm looking at the current contract. It says year 5, which is the year that we're currently in, right? It's a base rate of $18.44, and then with the approved surcharge, it's $19.28. So we're looking at like a $2, well, $3 base rate. Is the fuel surcharge still, roughly $1 a month or something? Is that what we can expect to be added onto that 2135?
Tom, help me out here. I don't remember what the most recent fuel
Yeah,
was.
typically, the state manages the fuel surcharge, and it changes twice a year. And it's announced in January and July of every year unless the state enters an emergency order, but typically it stays right around there. It has historically in the past 5 years.
So the total cost with the surcharge will likely be just over $22 instead of the 19-ish that we're paying now.
Okay, we can confirm the number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my question. The numbers weren't adding up to me.
Thanks for clarifying.
I have one more. The e-waste collection, just for people to know the information, what items are included in e-waste?
So that would be anything that is electronic. And people tend to mix electric with electronic. They tend to want to put out their microwaves for e-waste collection because they're thinking they get that confused. But we're looking for your old computer monitors, TVs, CPUs, laptops, DVD players, VCRs, gaming systems, phones, fax machines, copiers, printers, any peripherals with a computer system. And I'm probably forgetting some.
Phones?
Do we take cell phones?
Yes.
It is, okay. I wasn't sure with the
Like
battery
phones,
component
I
of some of the
mean,
older ones.
cell phones.
Okay, yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, yes.
Box TVs?
Yes.
The big, yes, yes, the big old
What are
style from when I was little, console TVs with the speakers on the sides.
So pretty
Wasn't
much
that long ago.
all TVs, so all TVs pretty much,
Yes, yes.
but not microwaves.
Not microwaves, that's electric. That can just be put out with your regular trash. It's considered a bulk item.
See, I knew I needed to ask.
It's confusing, it really is. People want to give us their coffee makers as part of the electronic pickup.
And
Those
they
go
just
in
go out with regular trash.
Correct. So, handheld gaming systems, your old Ataris, although I think I would probably keep that as a collector's item. I never had one.
So those are electronic. Yeah,
Yes. Yep.
I don't want to get confused.
It's easy to get confused.
Okay. No, but I mean, that's very clear. TVs, electronics, cell phones, game systems.
And I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at, can that be requested, or are those scheduled dates for e-waste pickup?
So I believe it's the last Friday, but you do have to call us and let us know
Okay.
that you have something for pickup because it is on an as-needed basis. So if you have something, it does need to be scheduled with us. Otherwise, we won't know to come to your address.
The exhibit states monthly on call, last Friday of every month.
Great.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
We've covered.
All right, thank you so much.
You're so
Yeah,
welcome.
thank
Thank
you.
you for your time.
Any concerns, questions, comments, or just
Move it to the
consensus to
agenda.
move?
Good.
Yeah, okay. That brings us to the end of our items for discussion, and the only other things we have on our agenda is an executive session.
I'd love to move us into executive session pursuant to West Virginia State Code Section 6-9A4B12 and Section 69A429 to discuss potential or pending litigation and development of real estate in the 6th and 7th Ward.
Thank you, Mayor.
Second.
All in favor of executive session?
Aye.
Aye.
Got it.
Great. All right.
Does basketball begin at 9?
We've not had that.